Okay, I think today we're going to have the story of the double flush. I'll just get this set up here. Let's go for spot culling. No. Okay. So we have them here. Get our cards out. Yeah, but we do need spot culling now, hey? I don't know. Whoa. It's going to focus in on that? I don't know. Doesn't look like it is. Can't tell, fellas. These days. Anyway, let's get this set up and get going. Okay, so about, not quite a decade ago, I was playing around with Sarracenias and things like that, and yeah, just for some nice screenshots or something. Yeah, there are two types of peat or humus, I suppose. You got the mole humus and you got the moor humus sort of thing. One has a very low nitrogen to carbon ratio. One has the other way around. One has like a 1-to-1, you know, equal parts of nitrogen and carbon. The other one has very low nitrogen, a lot of carbon in it, so you know, heading towards, you know, peat into lignite sort of thing, you know, that sort of trend. That sort of. Anyway, so about almost a decade ago, I set up some pots where I just had like sand all the way down the pot, and I just covered the surface of the pot with some peat. And I did two runs. I had the normal Stragden peat, and I also did one with coir, and of course peat was better than coir. But I just covered the pot with barely 1 to 1.5, maybe 2 inches at best in places, just so the rain wouldn't wash through and you wouldn't expose the sand. Anyway, I found that if you flushed it and let the water go down through the bucket, but then you flushed it a second time, you started to get really good growth. And it almost seemed like a pulsation. It almost seemed like you could actually watch the plants growing. You did this, like if you did this like 3 times a day, if you did the double flush like 3 times a day, you know, every what is it, every 8 hours basically, you could almost see the plants pulsing in their growth to the actual double flush. So you do a double flush every 8 hours. I think you put the water on about I was putting on about 2 litres, and you let it sink through, and as soon as it stopped draining at the bottom hole, because I used to have holes back then, that's how I eventually ended up going. I used to have, instead of having these things, instead of having slots, I had holes, and that's how I got into doing the slots sort of thing. So I noticed that, and couldn't work out why you had to have 2 flushes. You know, one wouldn't work, and then because you ended up doing lots of flushes, and you found that wasn't effective either. Why was the double flush the most effective way? And why, if you did it on a regular basis and you increased the regularity, you can almost see the plants pulsing in growth. You can almost see the pictures growing. And yet it was all out of just quartzite sand, which we now know is a fantastic storer, and a very thin layer, almost barely covering the surface of the sand. For years couldn't work it. Now I think we have an angle on all this stuff. So what we're going to do, first of all, I am going to make up I'm going back to the charcoal sours again, because what I'm going to do is put this stuff in the bottom, and I'm going to, you know, set it up sort of. This is just. So basically I've got one of these things, I've chopped it up. Be careful with your hands because they do have sharp corners and things like that. So chop it up, put it in as best you can. I've stomped on these to get them nice and flat sort of thing. Put it in here as best you can, so you get it nice and flush with the bottom sort of thing. And then we're going to take our sponge here that I put in the bottom to, you know, set up the amount of poly I wanted. So we're going to rip open our sponge here, as you do, and we're just going to see where the line is. The line's going that way, We're just going to put it across the line. Just put it down there, flush with the line. And then we're going to put our poly in on top. It's already been calculated that way by having the sponge in there in the first place. So now we've got basically a sponge and up to 5 litres of poly sort of thing. Okay, that's the first step. Now we're going to take a new bag of perlite. And we're just going to pour this in. Now you want to do, you're just going to pour, I know, where am I in the shot? Nothing worse than being, no, I've got to be out there somewhere. So we're basically going to, and I'm going to try and get as much in here as I can, fellas, because I want to put the charcoal right on the top. Because the idea is, charcoal is a form of soil bacon. It's a salty form of soil bacon, whereas peat and sedge peat, pine needles, what's his name? Not Mono. It's got Mobile. Mobile's gone down the pine needles avenue. Now, I would suggest to you that peat, sedge peat, pine needles is the phenolic soil bacon, whereas charcoal is the salty soil bacon angle. And what we were doing is we were washing out the phenolics, so that now we had the bacon. Basically, we were getting the phenolics nice and soluble with the first flush, and also at the end of the second flush over the other remaining hours until the next flush around, you were making the phenolics very soluble. So when you did the first flush, you were flushing those out, turning into now from soil bacon into just bacon, so it's now readily available. Also, I believe that by doing that, you're also allowing it to generate reductive flammable gas, and I think that's where the nickel comes in. The nickel improves the production of the reductive flammable gas, because if there's any generation of ammonia there, it will strip off those hydrogens and turn it into reductive flammable gas sort of thing. So that's because if you've done the work like I've done, you know what the toxic level of nickel is. We can test for that. We can take some charcoal, we can take a milk bottle, fill it up with charcoal. You know, you assume this black stuff here is charcoal. We can let it sit there for 3 or 4 days, maybe the 4 days that normally the organisms takes to start to pink. We can flush out the water then, put it in a separate container, and then we add nickel to both the separate container water and also the charcoal, and hopefully then the charcoal should pink and redden even faster and better, because now you're actually converting any stored up there or released ammonia into reductive flammable gas, and then the organism will grow better because you're making a much better reductive environment. So the idea today here is doing this. We're going to put some charcoal on the top, but we might actually want to leave a gap somewhere on the edge there, so we can actually see whether it's going to be pinking or reddening on the corner there. And maybe this clip is getting a bit too long, so maybe it's time to truncate it here. Okay, over and out.